Let's call the February meeting of the Board of Water Resources to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here today and appreciate you taking time to come and join us. We have a matter of business we need to take care of. I'd like to present this gavel, or this gift, to Jim Lemon, who has served as our chairman in the last year. Jim, we appreciate your work and service, and this is a small token.
Thank you, and I'm glad you've got it now.
We'll go to the approval of minutes. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes of our December 1st meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the minutes and I would make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Norm. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, going to the chair's report. I don't have a lot to report other than Randy, you're doing a great job on the moisture. We're watching the legislative session very closely. There's a lot of bills affecting the water community, and we'll be glad when they're done. With that, the Utah River Council was to be here, and they opted not to come today. They've had a commitment. So let's go to the water supply report. Randy?
Yes, Chairman Farrell, congratulations. What a wonderful, makes me excited. I'm just completely Twitter-pated about a report, finally, that is going to be awesome. It's going to be huge. It's going to be bigger than anything else you've ever, never mind. This is Wrigley Creek up on the Wasatch Plateau up above Farron. We'll get right into it right here. We take a look. This is water year to date precipitation. 164% up here on the Bear and 97% down on the Escalante. And everything basically in between. Precipitation, snowpack has not followed precipitation this year. We've had a really big conversion. One thing I want to show you right here, almost all of the pattern this year has been zonal coming out of the west or out of the southwest. All of these upper tier states, Oregon, Washington, northern Idaho, Montana, they're all much below average. In fact, one of the guys up there was wondering whether he was ever going to see snow again. They've got as much snow as we do. It's just that they normally get so much more. So, zonal flows, atmospheric rivers have been very kind to us so far. We take a look at our current snow water equivalent. Over here on the Duchesne, the big winner right here, 203% of average right now. And when we start looking at saying, gee whiz, the Escalante down here at 119% is the lowest we have in the state, those are really good signs. Even southwestern Utah, 195%, 164 over here in the southeast. Everything up here on the Bear, the Weber, Provo, running 165% of average. Fantastic numbers for first part of February. Now let's get into the really fun stuff. This black line right here is normal. The red line is where we are. You can see the red line is well above our April 1 peak. That means everything we get from here on out is putting us higher and higher and higher. It's icing on the cake, water in the pond, however you want to express it. But it also has the potential to cause some nuisances later on. There's always that possibility. And you take a look at the green average line right here, and what that says is that with average conditions here on out, we will be probably in a top 10% year. And if we get maximum, the way it's going, we would be in a record setting, higher than 83, higher than 2005, higher than 2011. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind. And when I say that, remember, on every breakaway, some guy's running down the court, he's got the ball, he goes up, And 99% of the time, it goes in the hole, doesn't it? There's always that 1% that ends up in the bleachers somewhere. We can still pull, we're not going to pull defeat from the jaws of victory out of this whole thing because we're already over our April 1 average. We're still, regardless of what happens from here on out, we're still going to have a good year. The difference is whether we're going to have a fantastic year or something of that nature. So that's the bear. The Weaver's same kind of a situation right here. Average puts us into a top 10 year. Provo, same kind of a situation, already above your April 1 average. And down over on the Duchesne, well above April 1 right here, and possibility of having a record year. Price San Rafael, already, look at this right here. We are already in the top 30%, and just a few more storms will put us into a top 10. Sanpete, same kind of a situation, a little above average, not as good as some of the others. The Upper Severe, very close to April 1 average right here, and certainly looks to be at least a top 3 year, doing exceptionally well. And in southwestern Utah, here's our April 1 average right here. Here's where we're at. Because of the variability in the data set we have down there, things can change very rapidly back and forth, but well on their way to an outstanding year. We look at soil moisture. This is the other part of the hydrologic equation right here. Take a look at the Bear River, near record soil saturation this part early. Weber, dead center between average and the period of record. Price San Rafael, right at the top in terms of soil saturation. We expect to get a really good and high efficiency runoff from the snowpack that we have. We've got soils that are basically from central Utah north that are well above average or near record highs for this time of year. We get down to the Upper Severe, and by golly, they're near average. That's still good. So, southwestern Utah, also near average. Now, we take a look at reservoir storage. Statewide, we're right exactly where we were last year. The Bear is exactly the same. The Duchesne, the same. Lower Severe, a little bit less. Severe Bridge, whoa, stay, good boy. Got a little bit more water in Severe Bridge. Price very close to the same. The Provo, identical. Southwestern Utah, identical. Upper Severe is doing a little better this year, and the Weber, Ogden basins are doing better this year as well. We take a look at our projected stream flow, and this is actually amazing. It's been a long time since forecast flows in February were this high. Not even 2011 were quite this good right here, but you're starting to look right here. Most of the flows right here are forecasted to be somewhere between 140 and upwards of 250% of average. That is really amazing. We take a look at our surface water supply index. That's our forecast flow plus what we observe in reservoirs. And you can see they're all blue with the exception of the Provo right here. Everything is in outstanding shape. Lower Severe is right on average, but the Provo at 17%. And the reason for that is Utah Lake is so low. That is the big elephant that is dragging that particular one down. We stand a really good opportunity to not only fill the upper parts of the reservoirs, Jordanelle and Deer Creek, but put a lot of water into Utah Lake as well. I'll just show you that right here. This is where we're at. You can see vastly increased stream flow, which is the green part, and our reservoir storage. You can see for most of the period of record, that's the other part, is this is a very short period of record, starts in 95. We wanted to include Jordanelle in there, so it's a short period of record, and thus that's typically the reason that it's tending to be a little bit low. Now, here's some good news for you, Charlie. This is the anticipation of Bear Lake from Connolly Baldwin right here. With average conditions from here on out, we're probably going to put 7 to 8 feet, vertical feet on the lake, and if it keeps going, you could put 10, maybe 11 feet in the pond.
There's room.
There's room, and that's the great thing about having a Bear Lake like that. When you have these kinds of years, an 11, a 5, and what looks like to be a great year this year, you can store a phenomenal amount of water and use that for 3 or 4 or 5 years into the future. That is just a fantastic figure right here. This is where we're right about 59.12, could go as high as 59.19. In outstanding conditions, could go to 59.21. So, when we read the tea leaves, the 3-month temperature outlook looks a little bit warmer for southern Utah, equal chances for northern Utah. We look at precipitation, the whole state basically here is equal chances. So as long as we're taking equal chances, we'll take them on the high side. You never know what's going to happen, whether it's going to go dry, whether it's going to go wet. But and in this case, they don't know either. So bottom line is, we've been in a fantastic pattern. We hope to stay in it, and everything that we get from here on out is going to be putting us higher and higher and closer to. We've already put out the little APBs. You know, we've got a great snowpack. It looks like it's going to continue. You ought to be thinking about some really high flows coming up this spring. So, can't wait till the next storm of the century. And this is Cedar Breaks 2005 in June, trying to get the road open. There's a definite possibility we could see a repeat of that this year. Okay, any questions? We're just happy.
What's anticipated rise in Lake Powell?
Now, that one is a little bit more difficult because you have to add all of the stuff coming in from the Colorado side. The last 24-month report that I saw said probably a 12, 15-foot rise. But that was based on the January forecast numbers. That should go up substantially. Right now it's 51, looking at 51% of capacity.
Any other questions for Randy? Keep up the good work, Randy.
Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate it.
Privilege speaking to the board, always a pleasure.
Thank you. I need to apologize. I failed to recognize 3 new board members. We have Kyle Stevens with us, Juliet Tenor, and Randy Crozier. They're new. This is the first meeting, so welcome. Let's start out with the feasibility reports. We'll do Echo Ditch Company first. And with us today we have Richard Richens, who's president of the company. Would you like to come up? Ruth Richens, a board member. Ryan Richens, a shareholder. And Brian Wilcox, the project manager. Looks like a family affair. Thank you. We welcome you. Ben? Are you ready?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we've got the Echo Ditch Company here. The Echo Ditch Company was registered with the state of Utah in 1905, and today it provides irrigation water to 16 shareholders who use it for agricultural and residential irrigation. The sponsor's irrigation system delivers water from Echo Reservoir to the city of Echo and the surrounding areas via a main line and a series of earthen canals. Many parts of the distribution system are located below railroads, the I-80 and 84 interchange, and Bureau of Reclamation property. After construction of the I-80 and 84 interchange in 1967, an old natural gas line was donated to the sponsor and is now used as the main line, which conveys water from Echo Reservoir to the canal system. The natural gas line, serving as the sponsor's main line, is about 60 years old and deteriorating. It is being used as a sacrificial metal by a nearby natural gas line equipped with cathodic protection. Additional deficiencies of the system include seepage losses great enough to prevent water from reaching shareholders at the end of the canal. The proposed project includes slip lining the old natural gas line with PVC pipe, and piping all of the open canals in the distribution network. The project is expected to reduce the risk of damaging critical infrastructure, including the I-80 and 84 interchange and railroads, increase hydropower production by the Bountiful Light and Power, conserve water, and provide an adequate and reliable irrigation system. If the board authorizes the project, it is suggested it be purchased at 0% interest over 30 years with annual payments of approximately $15,600. And this is staff's report.
Thank you, Ben. Does the applicant like to make us, say anything? Mr. Richards?
We'd like to thank the board for their consideration of our project. And this is a family affair, this property that we own up in Echo, Utah, has been in our family since 1854. My great-grandfather was the first Echo Ditch president. My grandfather, he's the one who negotiated the gas pipeline deal for to go under the freeway, the new freeway. And then my father, he's pretty much consolidated all the property and kept it running. And he's gone now, but my mom's still with us, and she still lives on the property. And we'd like to, we appreciate this opportunity to bring this 19th century water system into the 21st century.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. I appreciate the opportunity of reacquainting myself with the Richens family. As I mentioned to them, I grew up in Hennifer, and as a youngster, my father and grandfather leased part of the old Carmen place, and I used to pack sprinkler pipe on that when we were farming it. The question I had was, does DOT have any, obviously they're concerned about the pipeline going under the freeway. Do they have any interest in or reason to be involved with it financially with helping to stabilize that? I should have asked that question earlier, but it just came to mind now.
We haven't asked yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other question I had was, and I'd asked this earlier in our meeting, and I think it was answered, but on the west side of the river, that is a property that was formerly owned by another entity, and then you've purchased that, but that will still be serviced by an open ditch for irrigation purposes on the west side of the, I said freeway, but I meant river.
Yes, sir.
And so the project itself just goes down the east side and services the farm ground and the town of Echo on the east side of the river. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It does come under the river to the west side, and that's considered the Kerman-Richens ditch. And that water is combined with the Echo ditch. And that on the west side will eventually be piped so everything can be sprinkled.
Okay, but so you've stubbed in a line over to, you said under the river, to the Carmen-Richens ditch, which is an open ditch on the
west side.
Okay. That's the only question I have at this point.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment on Kyle's point that he made about talking to DOT, and I don't know if Bryce has talked to the engineer working on a project for Bear River Canal Company, but we found that DOT was interested in piping a section of our canal that we were working on a project that was funded through here. And so you might want to
We'll contact them. We, 2 years ago when we had a leak underneath I-84, they were the ones that called us to tell us to fix our leaks. So we'll call them and see if we can work something out with them.
Sounded pretty generous, huh?
Yeah.
Norm, you had a question?
I just run, with 16 shareholders, is everybody in agreement with this? That's a pretty tightly held organization.
Yes, sir. The majority shareholders, there's 3 shareholders that hold the majority of the stock. Us being the majority shareholder, we have a majority on the board, and all three of the major shareholders are in agreement. Our board has enacted acceptance of this proposal, and everyone's on board. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I got a
Lee?
question. Earlier, we asked the question, and I'm not sure, I either didn't hear the answer or I still have questions in my mind. The information we have says that there are 1,000 shares in the company. It says that 853 of the 1,000 shares are allocated. Would you mind just explaining to us how that works? Where's the other 147 or whatever shares that are not allocated, and how does that factor in?
The reason they weren't allocated was there was not enough water to allocate those shares, and there wasn't enough shareholders that was interested, no more shareholders came forward to ask for it, so it's just there.
So they haven't, those extra 147 shares haven't been issued or whatever, you don't collect assessments on them or anything like that?
No, not at this time.
Okay, additional questions? Seeing none, we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that the board authorize the project with a suggested purchase at 0% interest over 30 years, which would make the annual payments of approximately $15,600.
We have a motion by Mr. Stevens. Do we have a second? We have a
I'll
second by
second it.
Norm.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second.
All in, was there a question? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Woodruff Irrigation Company? We have Wes Tingey, president of the company, Bill Stewart, vice president, Stephen Huffaker, and Chad Brown, engineer.
Oh, yeah, we got
Welcome. We appreciate you coming today. Tom?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Woodruff Irrigating Company in Rich County delivers water primarily from Woodruff and Birch Creeks to irrigate over 6,000 acres of ag land. The company owns and operates 3 reservoirs, and if you look at the map, the lower one is Woodruff Creek Reservoir with a capacity of 4,350 acre feet, and that dam has been rated high hazard from the state engineer's office. Birch Creek number 1 and number 2 are the ones that are located up higher on the map. Birch Creek number 1 is the smaller one with a capacity of 150 acre feet, and that has a rating of moderate hazard from the state engineer. And Birch Creek number 2 has a capacity of 2,250 acre feet, and that is a high hazard dam rated by the state engineer's office. In May 2014, dam safety inspection by the state engineer discovered a new seep at the toe of the dam near the outlet. The state engineer over dam safety put a storage restriction of about half the capacity of the reservoir on that reservoir until that problem is fixed. In 2016, a major seep was discovered in Birch Creek number 1 at the toe near the outlet, and the state engineer would have liked to have had that dam breached at that time, or taken out of operation because of the large seep. However, because the flows from Birch Creek number 2 need to flow through Birch Creek number 1, the state engineer allowed the operation of Birch Creek number 1 under strict monitoring requirements. So the sponsor is here to request financial assistance from the board to breach Birch Creek number 1 and to install a tow drain at the toe and around the outlet of Birch Creek number 2 to catch those, the new seeps. And doing this work should be enough to have the state engineer lift the storage restrictions. So the sponsor is anxious to get that work done so they can have that restriction lifted. It should be noted that any changes made to the dams need to be approved by the State Dam Safety Engineer's Office. And there is still discussion going on amongst the company and engineer about whether they want to leave Birch Creek number 1 breached or make that a permanent fixture. The cost estimate for the project is $465,000, and it's proposed that the board provide 85% of that amount, up to $395,000. And if the board authorizes the project under that term, it's suggested it be purchased at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $15,800. It should be noted that because the problems at Birch Creek number 2 fall under the state minimum standards upgrade grant projects, the board funds, that those dam safety funds are not available right now to do the project, but because the sponsor is anxious to get the project finished, they're willing to go under the regular loan program to get that problem fixed. And that being the case, it's recommended that when the other minimum standards upgrade work is done several years down the road, that the cost of this project, the dam safety portion, be included under that, or at least taken into consideration when the funding is given at that time. Those additional stability or dam safety issues include stability of the dam itself, as well as the size and adequacy of the spillway. So if the project, if Birch Creek number 1 does remain breached, the sponsor would like to see if they could work out an agreement with the state engineer's office, the water rights, to move the storage right up to Birch Creek number 2 if possible. But that's yet to be seen. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that's staff's report.
Thank you. President Taney, you want to add anything?
A couple items. Do appreciate the board considering our proposal. The timing of this is very unfortunate. We are right in the middle of a conservation project, pipeline conservation project. So expands. I would maybe like to change Tom's proposal here, that if we could, we'd like to go 30 years to keep our costs as low as we can per year because of the other project. The Birch Creek number 1 water, the 188 acre feet, if we transfer that up to the upper reservoir, we still got to decide it might be more cost effective to go ahead and rehabilitate Birch Creek number 1 rather than move that water. We've got to look at all the possibilities when that comes to pass, but in the breaching of it, that would be probably step number 1 of rehabilitation anyway, because the outlet works are not adequate as they are. So they fit in whichever way we do. But we would like to request a 30-year payback if we could, to keep our costs as low as we could while we're involved in this other project. Other than that, any questions of me, I'd be willing to answer, or the Bill is Vice President, Steve is Secretary of the, and we have worked closely with Chad Brown with Franson Engineering in designing these projects.
I see you cover 6,000 acres. How many stockholders do you have?
64.
64.
I think 64 shareholders. There are 57, what, Steve, shares. And we have we have one other person that may become part of the company, and these shares would add to that, but
Okay, thank you.
not complete yet.
And your current assessment is $5 a share?
That's what it used to be prior to the conservation project that we are in now, right now. So that itself has gone up to around $30 to $35 a share the last couple of years on the conservation project we're doing. Traditionally, it was around $5 a share, but the last couple of years that has been increased quite a bit.
So you're at $30 a share now?
What was it last year? Do you remember, Steve? The 15 and the 20? Might have been 35 last year to
35 a
cover,
share, okay.
because of the other project that we're involved in.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
I have one, on the recommendation or the request to consider 30 years payback instead of the 25. What does that do to the payment?
I think it brings it down a couple of $1,000s, Tom said. It made it
13,200.
200.
Okay.
So that'd be approximately 13,200 on that.
And then you may have touched on, would the dam required to be dewatered during the upgrade construction of the tow drain?
That's something that maybe Chad could address, but I would,
We're gonna have to dewater that localized area, yes.
okay.
It's something that we're working through with dam safety.
And then what would you do as far as timing? Would that, I mean, I'm assuming you're not wanting to move forward right now, moving into an irrigation season, would be in the fall? Or what is the time frame that you're looking at?
That's part of what we're looking at with the dewatering is that timing. Can we control the seepage, the dewatering in the areas that we've got to fix? We're not trying to do the length of the dam. It's really just a localized
Area?
Yeah.
If we can come to an agreement with dam safety, we would like to try and do that this spring. Because the restriction only allows them to store about half of their water, right?
Okay.
If we have to go to the end of the season, then we'd probably still be under the restriction till we're generally through with that reservoir by July, so middle of July, so then we could take care of it then. But if dam safety isn't in agreement, we'll probably be back on the restrictions until we get to July.
What's your water source like? You have adequate flow there to fill up that bigger one every year, or?
Not every year. On Birch Creek number 2, Birch Creek number 1, that 188 acre feet, the dam that we have to breach, part of the question of there is what is it worth? Because that dam quite often, on average, probably over a 50-year period, only fills 1 in 10 or maybe 1 in 8 years. Now, when I say that, sometimes it fills 3 years in a row, and then it's 15 years before it would fill and spill on a year like this. It is just below Birch Creek number 2, but we have had to fill Birch Creek number 1 because the gate would not carry adequate water, so we'd have to fill it, run the water through the spillway to get enough water down for the users. So we've filled it practically every year, but as far as the flow that comes, we haven't filled it. And so part of the company's decision on what to do with the water is, how much money can we spend in order to rehabilitate a dam that maybe isn't going to have enough water to fill, only 1 in 8 years. So those are decisions which we're still trying to decide. Birch Creek number 2, the larger dam, generally fills and spills again only probably 1 in 5, 6 years, but then it gets within 80% or 85% every year. But that is a major supply of water for a part of our irrigation company, or irrigating company on one side of the creek. So where we have the 3 reservoirs, the Woodruff Creek irrigates a large part of it, and that Birch Creek irrigates about 1/3 of it, so, of our company.
Other questions? Seeing none, the board will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, in view of the fact that this is not going to be a project that creates additional revenue and only has costs with it, and we are not able to fund a dam safety project, I would like to amend the documentation in the board handout to change the loan terms to 30 years and $13,200. And in that, I would make a motion that we purchase this loan at 0% interest over 30 years with annual payments of approximately $13,200. That's my motion.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Kyle. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So be it. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
We have two special considerations requests. Salem Pond and Fayette Irrigation Company are requesting to have their applications withdrew. Would somebody like to entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we withdraw the Salem Pond Company and New Fayette Irrigation Company projects and associated funds.
I'd second it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Randy.
We have a second by Mr. Crozier. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have some guests here today with us. We have Richard Bay, General Manager of Jordan River Water Conservation District. Doug Nielsen, Sunrise Engineering. Mark Anderson, Weaver Basin Conservation District. Paul Blanchard, Business Development. Paul, I've seen him. Trevor Detweiler, Engineer. And Mike Collins with Bowen and Collins. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I'd like to turn over time now to Lake Powell Pipeline. Eric, is that?
That would be Joel.
Joel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm happy to give an update on Lake Powell Pipeline project. I was sad to miss the training of the new board members yesterday because I was actually down in St. George meeting on this project. It's an exciting time for the project team. We've got a new program director that we've recently hired, John Friedel, who managed a similar scale project in Colorado, and they've finished that on time and under budget, and we thought, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Let's see if he can help us with our project over here. And he's brought some team members with him, and then we've also seen our consultants, MWH. They were recently purchased by Stantec, a larger engineering firm, and it's been interesting to see how well those two consulting firms complement each other. Stantec brings a lot of environmental expertise on their side that we've seen has helped us in these last few months as we've kind of watched how this transition's taken place. We've got some new team members from Stantec that have now joined our Lake Powell team, and it's interesting. They've got expertise working with the federal agencies we've been working with, so Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, National Park Service, and BLM. They kind of have an expert that has dealt with each of those, spent a lot of years dealing with each of those agencies, and it's been great for our team to have them come on board and help us work with those federal agencies on this project. Current status, this last week we went down to Page, Arizona and met with the National Park Service. We took them on a little tour out to see where the proposed intake location would be on the shore of Lake Powell, and also to booster pump location number 1, which both of those are located within the National Recreation Area of Lake Powell. And it was good to take them out on site and let them kind of see the exact location of we're talking about, and they could ask questions. We went and met with them back at their offices and and address some of their questions. And it's what we're finding is that as we have this team that we've brought together, and we go out and meet with National Park Service, we've also met with BLM, and you get talking with them face to face, you realize some of the concerns that they had. When you understand the context behind it, we realize, hey, we can work together on this. And it's been good to see that relationship with these federal agencies and this new team that we have. We're working together to address the comments that they had on our preliminary licensing proposal and on our license application for the project. Both BLM and National Park Service submitted significant number of comments on the project, and as we are working to address those, it's been good to go down and meet with them and say, hey, we wanted some more context on this comment that you made. Help us understand what your concerns are. And it's been good to meet with them and get that additional understanding, and then we can prepare the response that they feel adequately addresses that comment. And so we plan to submit these additional comment responses by March 31st to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So we've got about a month and a half that we're working to finish up these comments and get them approved by these agencies and submit those to kind of complete that license application. Another outstanding item is the cultural resources report that we're working through with the BLM and also the State Historic Preservation offices of both Utah and Arizona to get their approval on this report. 15,000 pages. There's a lot of considerations and resource impacts that are being addressed in this report, and this so it's a biggie. And when that is ultimately completed, we expect that FERC would then issue their notice of ready for environmental assessment and officially begin the NEPA process. We anticipate that occurring as soon as June or as late as a year from now, depending on how the work on finishing up the cultural resources report goes, because there's some uncertainty with working with BLM and the State Historic Preservation offices on exactly how long that's going to take to make sure that everybody's happy with the cultural resources report. But that's where we're at on the project. And once that notice is ready for environmental assessment is given by FERC, then they would see the preparation of the environmental impact statement and carry it through that phase of the project. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm not sure if the board has any questions on the project.
Any question for Joe? I have one. Joe, what was the general concern of the BLM and the Park Service on this project?
It was good to meet on site with the National Park Service. One of their main concerns is visual and noise. As we stood across from the intake location there, you're on the shore of Lake Powell near the dam, and you look across and they said, what's it going to look like? And so the engineering firm, the consultant, had prepared a visualization saying, okay, this is what we anticipate it looking like. And because it's on a little bit of a recessed area, it actually doesn't stand up above the visual backdrop. It would kind of rest below, and we could make the coloring of the building match. And it was good for them to kind of stand there and say, okay, I can see how that would look there, and that it's mostly underground. And then noise was another issue they had, and they said, well, what's it, are the people standing here? Would they hear, the pumps humming over there? And so the engineer was able to describe how they can do a noise modeling and then insert baffles into the pump house to dissipate the noise, give more surface area inside the building to absorb the noise. And so it was good to meet with them. That was their main concern. BLM, they're primarily concerned with cultural resources and working with the tribe.
Which we're addressing.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Water use and conservation report at Utah.
I'll do it unless Eric wants to. No, okay. Water use and conservation report. We talked a little bit in the board meeting. We have Alpine City that's come to the board on their new program for secondary water metering, and we're excited to start that process and get some of those districts in looking at secondary water metering. Eric Klotz and myself from our office and Eric Millis have been involved with Senate Bill 251 from last year in drafting an RFP to look at the water use in Utah and do a third-party review. We worked with the Water Development Commission. They set up a working group chaired by Senator Adams and Gene Shawcroft from Central Utah, the Governor's Office, Department of Environmental Quality, MagCorp, several different water providers from CUP, Weber Basin, I think one other were there, and also the Utah Rivers Council. We have drafted that. We need to get that back to Senator Adams. He's a little busy right now in the session, and I'll try to get a hold of him as soon as I can to take that RFP going forward. We have drafted a copy of the 2015 data. Since it's in draft form, we're not releasing it until we can have this third-party review. We'll see where that goes and those kind of things. So that's a quick and dirty report of what I've got so far. You know, it's 2017 now, and it won't be very long, and we'll start looking at the 2016 data as the audit recommended. And we've got staff that are already going, no, we get to do this again. But we'll work towards getting that done, and we'll be glad to do it. Any questions?
Say no questions. Thank you, Todd.
You bet. You know, just one thing on Randy Julander's slide for Bear Lake. It's only gone up 8 feet in 3 times in 100 years. So that's pretty amazing up there of what the potential could be. Well, you know, it's still early, like Randy said, but it's pretty amazing of where we're at. So.
Thank you. Eric, directions report?
Sure. Can't tell if that's on or not.
It is.
Okay. So Todd talked to you a little bit in the briefing meeting this morning about the legislative things that are going on. There are quite a few bills that we're interested in and looking at, and some of them that do affect the board directly. We've been up for several budget hearings already and think those have gone well. I think one thing that's of interest to you is that in the governor's budget and in the legislative fiscal analyst's recommendations is money for water conservation programs. And as the legislative fiscal analyst outlined it, they have about $1.5 million coming from your C&D fund that would go towards those programs. So I thought I would bring that up. We think that conservation is very important. It'll be a huge part of meeting the future water needs for generations here in Utah. On the Colorado River, last time we met and talked, we were nearing the end of the Obama administration, and there were a number of things that were going on that the states and the country of Mexico were trying to get landed before that administration ended. Mexico was quite motivated to complete a new minute, which is a new amendment to the Mexican treaty, essentially. In the end, though, that did not happen. We got really close. I think in the end, Mexico City had some staff changes. They didn't have time to go through all the last details and called it off. And so that's something that we will continue to work with Mexico on through this next year. The other thing is the drought contingency planning, and we had hoped that we would be able to get the lower basin's drought contingency plan to a point that the upper basin states felt good about it, and that the lower basin states would feel good too, that we could come to some compromise on that. Again, I think we came really close. This minute with Mexico was going to include some of these provisions for the United States drought contingency planning, but there was also some drought contingency planning for them. And so one important aspect of the Mexican minute that was being proposed was that it would be contingent upon the completion of these drought contingency plans. And so that's something that the states will be working on very heavily here. In fact, we met in Denver last Friday and went through a lot of these items, trying to get things nailed down. One thing that did happen before the end of the administration was the signing of the basis of negotiation by Reclamation Commissioner Esteban Lopez for the agreement that the state of Utah is trying to work out with Reclamation for the Flaming Gorge water right that the Bureau deeded to the state 21 years ago. Amazing that much time's gone by. And so we're getting close to the point that we'll start negotiating. We've got a negotiating team put together. Galen Snow is on that. Clyde Watkins from Duchesne County Water Conservancy. Ron Thompson from Washington County Water Conservancy. We've got our legal staff and Kent Jones and his staff from the state engineer's office are all involved with that, as is Mike Styler. And so that's something that that was a positive thing to have that happen and to allow us to start working towards that. And then just one final thing, Norm, in answer to your question about where Lake Powell is expected to end up, I did a little checking here during the meeting. We've got 160% of normal snowpack in the upper Colorado River Basin, 138% on the precipitation. So it's a banner year there. As Randy mentioned, the last projections for Powell were from the previous 24-month study. That's not been updated yet. It shows that the most probable scenario would be Powell being just a little bit lower where it ended up last year, but the maximum, which we've tracked actually in the last couple of years, and I think we'll track again this year, or it probably exceed it, would put Powell about 20 feet above last year's peak and about 45 feet above where it is right at this moment. And I if things keep going, I think that'll be exceeded, and that would be great. Lake Mead has continued to come up. The lower basin is doing things to try to slow down their use, hold some water in the event that the drought continued. And so I think that's a very positive thing too, to see Mead coming up with Powell. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that is my report, unless there's any questions you've got.
Any questions for Director Harris?
Okay. I don't think we have time for this.
All right, good. Well, seeing nothing else, unless there's any other issue that needs to be brought up to the board today, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn until our March meeting, March 22nd, and that meeting will be held in St. George. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion.
we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Chairman.